Can you hear me, Justin?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Well,
I'm scared to start
I
until I
can hear
knew
you.
I had you.
Oh,
So your audio's good?
yep. I called in.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm starting. All right, good morning, everybody. Sorry that it took a few minutes for us to get started. We've got some in hotel rooms, some in Raleigh, and I'm at home, so I think we're all situated now. We've got Tessa Hine on the line and Russell Dixon. Say hello, guys.
Good morning.
We still have you, Russell?
Yeah, I'm still here. Good morning.
Okay, good deal. All right, so we apologize if some of you did travel to Asheville, but I had 68 text messages when I woke up, and apparently it snowed in Asheville, so Tessa's up there, and I'm back at home. Like I said, Russell's in Raleigh. Glad you all could join. The link to the bit.ly that we're going to use today, I've copied and pasted the slides from the opening deck like we usually come together as a larger group, but I've taken those slides from the opening deck and stuck them in the PowerSchool slide deck. So there's the link there. If you want to go to it, there's a lot of links within today's presentation that you're going to have to access. But before we get started, I do need all of you guys to sign in for me using the link there at the bottom. So we'll take about 1 minute and let y'all sign in for us. And while you're doing that, so that we can be as interactive as possible, I know this is not the most convenient way to meet, but I have asked Tessa to monitor the window there, and if anybody does want to speak or provide feedback, just raise your hand, and she's going to monitor that, and we're going to allow folks to speak throughout today's meeting. And I forgot to do a sound check, but if you can hear me, just throw your hand up there before we move on. Good deal. Okay, thank you. I'm kind of jealous I'm not up there in Asheville, Tessa.
No, there's not that much snow. I think the worst part was the empty roads.
All right, I'll wait about 30 more seconds to let people sign in, then we'll move on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First up, we finally replaced Rosalind. We've got Dr. Rob Dietrich from Lee County. Many of you know him. He's joining us on March 3rd, unless we keep stealing him day by day. We've been using him periodically, and every time he comes and joins us, it's another day that we have to wait to allow him to start. So right now the date's March 3rd. We're excited to have him on board. Can't get my slides to move. And then next we've got John Mars, who replaced Tiffany Kinney. So we've got a full training team now. He has been on board for about a month. So he and Tessa will be working together on training and creating QRDs and all that good stuff. And John is on the SchoolNet call, right, Tessa?
Correct.
Okay. So he won't be joining us today.
No.
All right. Russell, you can jump in on this one if you want to. The PowerSchool upgrade that was scheduled to go out in December, we couldn't pull that off in December because of other priorities, and we didn't have enough QA resources to get that done in time to release in December for the holiday release. So We are looking to do that during the March maintenance weekend, which is the third weekend in March. The version has changed. Back in December, we were going to upgrade to 1911. Now, the version that we're going to is 1911.02. Beta testing is going well. We've got a link there for you to access the release notes from 1911 to 1911.02. So back in December, we shared the release notes for everything up to 1911, but there's a few other items that's been released since then, and you can access those through this link. This will fix, well, we're hoping, knock on wood, this will fix the student records transfer issue that we've had since August. Russell, I think you've already reached out to some coordinators to ask them to volunteer to help test. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm working on that right now. I do want to say one thing. When you look at these release notes, there is one higher version, but we're not going to that one at this point.
Correct. There is in version 20.4, which will be released in April. I think there's something security related that's coming out, but I highly doubt we're going to get to that upgrade before EOI. So this will probably be it before EOI, unless Russell knows something I don't.
Not from this point.
Okay. And if y'all have questions or want to speak again, just raise your hand. We do want to allow y'all to talk during this. I think a communication is coming out today.
Justin, I think Heather. Justin, can you hear me?
Justin,
It looks like Heather Cook. Okay, Heather Cook has a question.
Okay.
Heather, I've unmuted you if you want to ask a question.
No, I lowered my hand. I just couldn't get to the registration. You can't link off of the slides. That's all. And I saw a few other people notice that too. So I'm sure we can just move on from that. We'll get to that.
Okay, so I have linked the slides. The bit.ly link for the slides has been linked in the chat feature. Also, you guys, if you don't have a specific question, don't hesitate to use the chat feature as well. I'm monitoring both, so just let me know. You're welcome.
Thanks, Tessa.
Yep.
All right, meetup schedule. The last week of April is our next meetup. I feel like April's a busy month. Tessa and I will be going pretty much most of it to different conferences and trainings.
Yep.
Our next meetup, we're actually going to go from the west to the east, so it's flip-flopped. We'll start out in Monroe and then end up in Washington County. And I hope y'all can join us for the next meetup, because if things go as planned, what we do today is kind of going to drive what we do at our next meetup. So if you can attend, that'd be great. I don't know what happened here. There we go. Reminder that the CCES conference is coming up. It'll be here before you know it, April 5th through 9th in Greensboro. I do want to let y'all know we're still working on the schedule for PowerSchool. Jill has allowed us to continue getting feedback from you guys before we finalize the schedule, because we want PowerSchool to be as thorough. Like, we want to offer as many courses as we can. And right now, I don't feel like we have a complete schedule that's going to please y'all. Over the last couple of days, I've gotten some feedback. I've taken that back to Jill. We've added a few sessions, but she did want me to ask y'all to click on this link. The session details are there. Why am I not seeing it, Tessa?
What link? What are you talking about?
The session details are not in this presentation, and they were in the opening. All right, I'm going to switch gears for a minute. I stole this from here. Let's see if I can paste it. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm going to delete this one. Y'all will probably have to refresh your slide deck to get the new link I just put in. So there where it says check out session details, that's the document that takes you to all the sessions that are currently scheduled. Jill did ask that you all go through those, see what's missing, and then tell us like what we need to offer. We currently have rooms reserved for PowerSchool that aren't full yet, so we've got time to add sessions. If anybody's interested in presenting or facilitating any sort of session, send me or Tessa or Jill an email. We've got roundtables. Last year, you all know we had a data manager roundtable, and that was complete chaos because every data manager and coordinator in North Carolina filled that room up. This year, we've split that up to 3 different roundtable sessions. We've got an elementary, middle, and high. Those are all full. We talked yesterday. Somebody shared an idea with me about doing like a PowerSchool cafe, because what we've been doing the last 3 days allowed coordinators to sit together as a large group, work together, and y'all see what I'm talking about when we get there. But I think the idea of just coming together and talking through their problems as a larger group was beneficial. So I've asked Jill to add that. I'm looking at trying to bring Lorenzo or Veronica from PowerSchool on site so that during CCES, if you've got tickets that are outstanding that's been open for months, you'll be able to sign up for like a 15-minute time slot to go speak to somebody from PowerSchool and have them work your tickets. Kind of like if you've been to PSU, they do that at PSU. So it'll be a help desk sort of setup. But if there's anything missing that you would like to see us offer, please shoot me an email. Because we keep hearing that people are going to PSUG or people are going to PSU and they're skipping this one because it's not beneficial, and we want to make it as beneficial as possible. While I'm on this topic, I do want to share that we are looking at doing a summer conference, and I know we say that every year. Last year we just couldn't pull it off because with Rosalind leaving, Tiffany leaving, Tessa was new. We had our hands full at DPI and we couldn't pull off a summer conference. But now we've got a full team for the first time in a long time. We've got Russell, we've got John, we've got Tessa, Dr. Dietrich, Dr. Wren, myself. We do have time between now and summer to start scheduling and pull off a summer conference. So I'm excited about that, and I think you all should be too. You will probably be getting a survey. Jill was taking notes the other day. She's probably going to send out a survey to try to find out where do you want to meet, what dates, and who do you want to be included. I know over the years I've heard that PowerSchool coordinators don't want data managers coming, but over the last couple of days we've heard from a few that do want their data managers coming because that's the only opportunity they have to receive training. So we'll put a survey out there and get your feedback on that before we move forward. Any questions, or does anybody want to speak before I move on? All right.
Justin, can you hear me?
Go ahead. I can.
There's a question if you're staying with the PowerSchool team.
Yeah, so we've been back and forth on that, and the way it's going to be structured, I'm going to remain with DTL, and this was finalized a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to remain with Digital Teaching and Learning as the business manager of PowerSchool, but IT is going to take on a role that we've not had previously, and Tracy Tillis, who's been working with ECAT, is going to be the IT manager of PowerSchool. So I think her title is like the SIS manager, because she's over ECAT, and that's the Student Information System. She's also going to manage the IT world of PowerSchool. So that's going to take a little bit off my plate and allow me to do more face-to-face, customer-facing training type stuff for you guys. Is that it? Yes, sir. Okay, since I can't hear anybody, y'all put your hands up if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yeah. What's going on up there in the mountain?
I don't know. It keeps going in and out. I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. There was a
Is this a
question
Super
about
8?
EOI. No, it's a Marriott. um, there's like 4 other people streaming though, so that we know of. Okay, so there was a question about EOI.
Okay.
They want to know the date for EOI. Is it still going to be July 1?
Okay. So yes, July 1 will be the date. And I was sharing with a group yesterday. I'm going to try to get with PowerSchool. Excuse me, I feel like I'm getting sick. So July 1 will be, so we're going to go down at 5 o'clock on the day before July 1, which would be June 30th. I don't know why I said the day before July 1. But because historically PowerSchool has taken so long to do their processes before we can hit the button, I'm going to try to buy a day in between if I can, but I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know what I don't know if it has to happen the day after we take it down, or if I can tell PowerSchool, you have all day on July 1 to get this thing ready so that coordinators can come in on July 2 and hit the button. Because I don't want to keep bringing y'all to the table and telling you to be there at 7 a.m. only for nothing to happen until 1 p.m. So I'm going to work with PowerSchool on that, but it will be June 30th through like July 2nd when we begin. One thing I do want to point out, I know a lot of y'all have summer schedules where you don't work on Friday. Friday, July 3rd is a holiday. So if you don't work on that Friday, I know a lot of districts allow you to, or they give you your holiday day on July 2nd, which will be the day that I'm looking to run EOI. But I don't think that'll be bad considering we normally do it on a Saturday, which you're off anyway. So it's likely you might have to wake up and spend about 5 minutes of your holiday day processing EOI. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to move on.
Connie's asking, could we roll it back to taking it down on 6/26, then process on Saturday like normal?
We can't because we've got schools that are going all the way through the end of June. Wake County, I believe, is one of them. I'm with you. That's where I started. I wanted to do that also. And then Tessa told me no. All right, so our agenda for today's going to be a lot different, and I wish we were face-to-face, guys, because I've gotten positive feedback the last 3 days. So the agenda is much shorter than normal. We're going to go over some hot topics, items that y'all have been screaming about, some updates and reminders, and then I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't want y'all to hang up once you find out what our group activities is going to be. Tessa, we'll brainstorm once we get there. And if anybody out there has ideas, once we get to the group work process or portion, feel free to raise your hand or put a message in the chat. But we're going to build a year in PowerSchool and discuss our training needs. I'm going to move on. So our hot topics, number 1 is the student records transfer. I've been in PowerSchool since North Carolina went to PowerSchool, and I do not recall a time that we went this long with a broken process of transferring records. We have kept this high priority since we learned about it. The upgrade that we released in October fixed a portion of it. There's like 3 or 4 different scenarios where the records are broken, or where the transfer records is broken. Part of that was fixed when we upgraded in October, and then we were told that the other portion would not be fixed until the December release was available. And then with all the other priorities going on, we only had one test environment. We just couldn't test everything in one place, so we couldn't pull off that upgrade in December. We've tested that, and now the records are transferring as they should. we've actually got a temporary second test environment, so we're able to utilize the first test environment for all the things we're working on that need to be in production ASAP, and then we've got another test environment stood up for testing of the upgrade, and things are going smooth. And like I shared earlier, Russell's going to be reaching out to some folks and asking for assistance. I had about six to eight coordinators that assisted with the upgrade last time, the testing of the upgrade. So we're going to do that again because you guys are more in the weeds. You do this daily, and I'd like for you guys to have some eyes on this also, rather than just our small QA team at DPI. The second item there, we've learned over the last couple of weeks that it's a possibility that code sets are breaking the student records transfer process also. DPI requested that PowerSchool hide the code set link in PowerSchool when we upgraded and this was released, and they did that. However, a lot of you guys are smart and you found the URL, or I think PowerSchool's even shared it with you guys accidentally. And so we've got some coordinators that have created some code sets, and I am guilty. I have told some folks that it would be okay for them to do so, as long as they knew what they were doing. And I think that's coming back to bite us. Tessa, do you have more info on that? You said Veronica verified that it, in fact, is breaking records process, transfer records.
Yes. So since the code sets since contacts are transferred in the transfer package when students leave one LEA and go to another, if the code sets are not uniform across the state, it breaks the transfer student records because they don't line up. So that's just one of many things that have been breaking the student transfer records. It goes along with a lot of the data issues we had previously before as well that would not allow it to work. We're not saying that's what is completely breaking it, as there was some coding errors that needed to be fixed in this next upgrade, but that is one of the things that will cause it not to work.
Okay, so I do want to share that yesterday I was kind of walking around facilitating our group work, and there was a table of coordinators, and they all had their contacts, their core contacts page pulled up. And Russell, this is something we need to take back to PowerSchool and find out why this is happening. But everybody's list of contact types was different. So folks had stuff like babysitter, stepmother, or stepmom, and it was all different, and it was in no kind of order. And they didn't add those themselves. They didn't know what code sets were. So now I'm wondering if the transfer process is pulling in contact types also, even though it's breaking the transfer records. So we're going to check on that and find out why that's happening. But I just thought it was weird that out of 6 people at a table, none of them had the exact type or same contact types. I put a link there. Actually tested it. I'm not going to take credit. Go ahead.
There's a lot of people are requesting that contacts not be transferred in the student records.
Yeah.
Is that something we
we've heard that
we can look into? Yeah, I know. We've heard it all week.
Yeah. We'll take that back to PowerSchool and see if we can turn that off. Well, not really turn it off, but I imagine it'll have to be reconfigured to exclude that portion of the transfer. So there's a link there for code sets, because what we want to do is, like Tessa shared, everybody has to have the same code set or the same contact types. So we put a link there. If you need additional contact types, fill out that little form, and we're going to look at putting them in an enterprise controller and pushing them out. And I started out at the beginning of the year with a small group of coordinators. I had about 6 coordinators get together and talk through what they thought their needs would be. And so they sent me a list, but I'm learning that we need a lot more than what I gathered in the beginning. The bad thing is, when I talked to Lorenzo about pushing these out from the enterprise controller, he said it would be something we'd have to do at the end of the year. So even though you complete this, don't look for these to be released until EOY. I'm going to give you all a couple minutes just to fill that out, and then we'll move on. We have any questions, Tessa?
No. Oh, I have one that's coming through now. It would be beneficial to reach out to coordinators of smaller districts to assess our needs. It seems as though we are oftentimes overlooked.
Overlooked for what? I'm sorry.
Nope, it just says that. Overlooked, ... And then, shouldn't all contact information be removed when you withdraw a student and before transferring a student?
I don't think we required that, but it's a good idea.
That's it for now.
Okay. Well, you guys have the link there. If you think of things later, contact types you want added, you can go back to that link and complete the form. We're going to gather all those and look through them and build some sort of process out to get those out through Enterprise Controller. Next item on the list is student contact. Let me go back to where this originated. So you all know when we upgraded, we had the option of hiding the core contacts page or just giving you access right off the bat. We heard loud and clear from the coordinators that you didn't want this hidden because regardless, the records would be created on the back end and then you'd have a mess to clean up later. So we followed your wishes and we put that out in production. And with everything that's been going on at DPI, we've not had any time to come up with some sort of plan to help you guys with this process. I was hoping, and we've been working back and forth to try to get level data for the whole state, because I've heard from the districts that have level data that it has helped with the contact migration. So we learned within the last few weeks that that's not going to be possible because we're currently putting the SIS back out to bid. So we don't want to keep spending money with us being this close to the end of the contract. So with that said, I know a lot of you guys have completed your contact migration or you've come up with a process that works for you. I've shared every day this week that there's not one way for everybody to do it. So it's not going to be DPI says do this, and this is how we're going to do it. There's several different ways you can do it. What I want to do is hopefully pull together some folks who have already started this process or completed this process, and I want to pull folks together that have done it in different ways and have them do some working sessions at CCES. But the likeliness of us pulling this off statewide by the end of the school year, which is what we had hoped to do, is not likely. There's a short little form here for you to fill out. If you'll click on that where it says student contacts, it asks you two questions. What's the name of your district and how far along are you in the process of migrating your contacts? In order for us to try to put together a plan statewide, we need to know how far along everybody is. And it's okay if you haven't started because that's the majority of what we've seen all week. So if you'll take a couple minutes, complete that form. And if you're not the person in your district, if you're sitting in for the coordinator or whoever's responsible for the contacts migration, please share this link with whoever's responsible and ask them to fill this out so that we have as much feedback as possible. while you're doing that, I talked to a few folks who have already completed the migration, and they were asking if we could just turn off or allow them to hide the North Carolina contacts page. And the bad thing is we're still pulling information from that page, and DPI has not started the process of building out the reports to look at the core contacts yet. ECATS has. I think Sue Ann shared that when we were on the road in December. ECATS is ready whenever we are. However, there's some other reports that we've got to point towards the core contacts page. And so unfortunately, until that's done, you have to continue maintaining both pages. Any questions? You still there, Tessa?
Yeah, I'm reading through. Lots of people are asking questions right now. What they're asking, what other reports are pulled from that page because they want to know why.
There was a list of reports. I provided those back in the fall. Lori shared those with me. We will. I see Yolanda's online. We'll make a point to try to share that list again so that you all know. I see a question from Mark asking if we can get ECATS to go ahead and start pulling from the core page. I guess that depends on how many folks have a core page that's reliable. If everybody's got their core set up to be what they want ECATS to pull from. I'm going through these questions too with you. Somebody asked if we can pull something together for CCES on contacts, and we're definitely working on that. There should be at least 2 sessions on that, I'm hoping. And those will be working sessions. It won't be a presentation format. All right, I'm going to move on, and if y'all have questions, just continue putting them in log there. The no-name records is next up. This is like a mystery. We just put this in the presentation so that y'all know that we're aware of the no names just sporadically popping up. We don't know exactly. I mean, we know that there's certain functions that cause this, but we also know that it's popping up just randomly. We've reported this to PowerSchool. A couple of days ago, we were at a meetup, and we were talking about this, and then some folks who had a lot of no-name records was logging in, and they noticed that their no-name records were then gone. And we don't know why, because PowerSchool didn't tell us that they did anything. So you may want to go back and look and see if you've got as many no-name records as you did like a week ago. Something happened that cleared a bunch of those out. So that's on there for awareness. And then the last item is the transcript U issue. And many people don't know about this. Over the past 3 days, I've asked how many people noticed it, and maybe 10 hands went up out of all 3 days. But we discovered that on the North Carolina transcripts in production that all courses were being flagged with a U on the transcript. Not just the UNC required courses, but all courses had a U beside them. It's hit and miss. I've contacted a few districts, and Some say theirs is showing as they should, and others are saying, yep, I see it on every single course. PowerSchool told us a week ago that that was fixed and that it was still processing in Wake County. And then as of yesterday, I saw it myself. I was looking over someone's shoulder, and they pulled up some transcripts, and every course was showing a U. And it was a small charter school. So, Russell, I don't know if y'all had time during your working session with PowerSchool yesterday to work on that. Do you have anything else to share there?
I thought Lorenzo worked on that some yesterday, but I'm not totally sure.
Okay. The calculations at the bottom are working as they should. It's just a display error. So PowerSchool's working on that. If you weren't aware, go out there and check. Just pull up a student and check the transcript, and you'll probably see that U's are displayed beside every course listed. All right, any other questions before we move on?
Do you want them to let you know if they're not showing the U for everything?
If they're not, that would be good to know, yeah. So that when we're working with PowerSchool, we can say, hey, why is it fixed over here in McDowell County, but in Rutherford County it's still, because they were saying a week ago that it was fixed on everybody but Wake, and that's not the case.
Yeah, if you're still having the issue, I would say put in a ticket to PowerSchool, and then let us know the PowerSchool case number so we can follow up on that.
All right, Alex, I see you're online. Glad you could join us. I'm going to unmute you, Alex, and let you introduce yourself. Guys, we've got Alex Andrews, who's replaced Dan Gwaltney with PowerSchool, and I know many of you have met him. He's trying to come out and visit as many districts as he can, but I'm going to start inviting him to attend our meetups, and he's got some ideas. He and I have met, and we're looking at doing something kind of like the meetups, but separate, to where we do more of these, but it's all PowerSchool focused. So I'm going to unmute you, Alex, and let you introduce yourself, if you don't mind. Well, if I know how to do this. Okay, I sent you an audio pin. I don't know what that means. There we go.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Hold on. All right. Can you, so you can hear me right now? Sorry, I'm calling in from my computer audio.
No, you're good.
Hopefully this is working. Yeah. Thank you, Justin, for giving me a second. I just wanted to really listen in today and hear about things that are going on. It's been great, taking over North Carolina to this point, getting out, meeting with as many people as I can. Many of you I've talked to perhaps on the phone, in person, and for those that I have not talked to yet, I'm on my way to get time scheduled with you, and just with the idea of finding out, what are some of the pressing issues, what are things that are working, what's not working, on this list of topics. Clearly, there's some things that folks on this call have communicated to me, whether it's student contacts or transfer student records, those duplicate students, just some more technical things that that PowerSchool can help with. And I've told Justin that DPI does a great job with communication, and but that in areas where they were looking for a little bit of help from us, engagement from PowerSchool, we want to be present and we want to be helpful. So I have some ideas around, Justin alluded to the kind of separate meetup, and I think there's probably some people on the phone today that I've talked to about that. Basically, just with the idea of providing training, ongoing continuous training. So we're investigating some ideas there, but overall, I'm just here to listen in, and I would say don't don't fret that PowerSchool's represented here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to a lot of the folks on the call, but I'm just here to listen and just to be able to be transparent within my organization on the areas that we need to be stepping up as a partner.
So you put something in the chat log about the student contacts. So you're thinking some folks from PowerSchool can assist with that during CCEF? Did I lose you, Alex? Yep, looks like I did. Okay, we'll follow up on that. All right, let me go through the rest of these questions. Connie, you can just send me an email. Mark, your question, if we have additional relationships already added, you don't want us to delete them. No, just leave them. It's fine because we've got them across the state. We're gonna try to pull everything that's currently out there, make a list, and get those pushed out as soon as we can, which will probably be EOY.
But I want to add to that, just be aware that if you have added additional relationships and you're transferring students, the transfer student records may not work. And even when we upgrade, that's still most likely going to break the transfer student records for any students that have a relationship added. In your instance, that is not in another instance.
Okay, Melinda, I unmuted you. I don't know if you had your hand raised on purpose or if you wanted to speak. Okay, I'm gonna put your hand back down. If you do want to speak, just put your hand back up. Alex, I see your question. No, there's not been any questions come in yet, but if anybody online has any questions for PowerSchool, just drop them there and Tessa will capture them and we'll bring Alex back into the conversation. All right, moving on. Updates and reminders. We've already covered the PowerSchool upgrade. Third-party plugins process. I do want to take a few minutes here. There's a link there, and I want y'all to spend a few minutes filling that out. There's a new process in place for plugins and third-party vendor approval, and this went in place almost immediately after Rosalind left. So before the ticket came in, there was a form that came in, and we worked them as we could in our division in digital teaching and learning. But when she left, there was a new process put in place. A new form was created. We're actually working right now to try to get that put into a Google form so that it's out there as a link for you to quickly fill out, and we'll immediately get the request and start working it. But we do want, with us having a full team now, we want to be able to turn around these requests a lot quicker. And what I learned when Rosalind left, it took a couple of months, but I started getting emails and phone calls saying, hey, I was working with Rosalind on this plugin or with this vendor, or I've already cut a check to this vendor, but I can't start using it until you approve it. So I know you are in the works. A lot of you guys were working with Roz on getting some vendor approval. And then when she left, I really didn't know what was undone, what was left remaining, until I started getting the phone calls. And I've even had vendors call me up and say, hey, I'm working with such and such county, but we were waiting to hear back from DPI. With that said, you still have to go through this new process. So I hate to say that you have to start all over, but you have to start all over. If you were working with a vendor, or if you were working with Roz, or if you had a ticket in with DPI, I need you to get the new form, submit the new form, and then I'll share the new process with you. So now it has to be approved by 3 different folks at DPI, not just DTL. Now it has to be approved by the IT department as well as the federal reporting folks. So the 3 of them review your request, and then a meeting is set up with the vendor and maybe the districts if the districts needed to come in and join. But a meeting set up with the vendor as a follow-up just to make sure that we know exactly what the process looks like, what they're pulling from, what they're putting back in, all that good stuff. And then all 3 division leads have to approve for this to be placed on the approved list. So it can't be a 2 say yes and 1 says no. All 3 have to agree that it's okay to let you move forward with this. With that said, we know that a lot of you guys are using some illegal, or you're using vendors that aren't on the approved list, or you've got plugins that DPI has not approved. I'm not sure what the approval process looks like for plugins, because I was always under the impression that if it was a plugin, you were free to install it. However, now there's a little bit of back and forth and some unknowns about what we have to approve and what we can allow you to do on your own. But I want you to fill this spreadsheet out and tell us what all you're using currently that's not on the approved list. So when you click on that spreadsheet, and I'll go ahead and do it. And we're not asking you to do this so that we can go in and tell you, take it back out. We're doing this so that we can capture what's being used right now. So at the top right corner, there's a link to the approved plugin. So that'll show you what's currently on our approved list. So what I want you to do is take a few minutes and put on here what you have that's not approved. And it's fine. Level data is not approved, but we know there's like 9 districts out there using it, and it's working fine. So Dr. Dietrich and I had talked, and if there's stuff that you guys have been using for 3 years and it's not breaking anything, we want to get those approved quick. Those should be items that we can stick on the approved list and move on. So that's why I'm asking you to put it on here. And you'll see that a lot of these items are used by multiple districts. That gives us even more reason to say, hey, we need to get that approved. So if you'll take a couple minutes, if it's already listed, just stick your district name beside what's already posted there. But if you're using anything that's not on this list, add it and add your district name. And then likewise, if you're working with a vendor and you're trying to get it approved, if you're not using it yet, but you're trying to get something approved, send me an email so that I can kind of walk you through the steps of what you need to do to get it approved by DPI. What I would like to do as you're filling this out, these items that are listed with a dozen or so districts, I'm going to make that request for you instead of you having to get it approved as a district. I'm going to ask on behalf of Digital Teaching and Learning that, hey, this plugin is beneficial statewide, so this division is making this request. So we'll go through the process to keep you guys from having to go through it. Donna Allen, I see your message. Let's see. I'm going to pause my screen and see if I got that same email, Donna. And I did not. Yolanda, are you still listening? If you'll throw your hand up, if you can hear me. Okay. I'm going to unmute you just a second. Are you there, Yolanda?
Hey, Justin, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for
Okay.
joining. Are you aware of any? There apparently was an email that went out asking districts to put in their start and end dates for the next school year. That didn't come out from our division, did it?
We sent out a message saying that the start and end dates needed to, the report needed
Starting in
to
time.
be, oh yeah, that was starting in times. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, not for start
Okay.
and end dates. You're right.
Okay. So we probably need to get something out because it looks like somebody in the agency sent out an email telling districts to get that in. And I shared with you guys, I think in the fall, that was something we were going to start capturing. And initially, it was going to be a report that DPI put in the PowerSchool for you to report your start and end dates for the following school year. And sadly, that is due in April, but we came back and decided not to put a report out there because it's pretty much simple. We pull the first day in session and the last day in session. So there was really no need for us to create a report. But that doesn't change legislation. It's still required by April. So you do have to put in your start and end dates for your next year calendar by April. I'm not sure the exact date, but since the communication went out, we'll try to track that down and send that out to you guys also from our division. Thanks, Yolanda.
You're welcome.
Okay, we got a shout out to the NC support desk. Okay, looks like that email came from LaShawn. So Yolanda, if you don't mind, let's reach out to LaShawn and try to get that communication and also include it in our bulletin tomorrow. If a vendor is on the list with a district listed, but no approved is written, does that mean it is not approved for use current? That's right. And yes, you got a good point there, Jamie. A lot of vendors come at you and they say, hey, we're on the approved list. Well, that's a sales tactic. They're not on the approved list, and they know they're not, but they think you'll fall for it and move forward. So we try to keep that list updated. And I will say that there's some vendors that somehow just dropped off that list and we didn't unapprove them. But I've been contacted by some districts that we've had approved for years that say, hey, my name's not on the list anymore. And I'm not sure why, but we're working on getting that list back together and current. All right, we got a question about CCRG. That's not part of our agenda, but I will cover what I know. So there was a CCRG course code created for math. There was not a course code created for English. However, there are CCRG special programs that are going to go out during EOY. There's a CCRG English and a CCRG Math. Once those are released, you'll go and attach that special program either to the section or to the student, depending on how you've got them scheduled. We've had questions over the last few days about how to identify those students. I can't tell you right now how those are being identified. I know somebody at DPI is pulling a list. They're running, they're their scores and their GPAs, and they're providing that to the districts. But I have asked someone on our team to work on a SQL report so that you guys can pull that yourselves and kind of know earlier who's likely to be in these special programs. We got a lot of questions. Hang on. Okay, Francine, I got it. We will send out steps. I'll have the business owner of that. I think that's Sneha. We'll have her get some kind of documentation typed up and send it out. All right, I'm going to jump back to our slide deck. If y'all are still working on the third-party list, keep doing that. The next item is, excuse me, ACT. Sorry. Okay, so the next item is ACT SAT endorsement update. This went out into production the day after the webinar was held. Sneha led that webinar. And on the day of the webinar was the first I heard that SAT scores were to be included in that calculation. So this is something that we learned has been going on for 2 years. This was in the works with Rosalind, and then it got passed off to someone else. And then when Rosalind left, it kind of fell through the cracks. And then the business owner contacted me and wanted to know where we were in this process. We had to pull Lorenzo on site and get him to start working on this endorsement for ACT. So he built it out to only look at the ACT scores. I think the minimum was 22. And then that got pushed out in production. And then on the Monday after it got pushed out, I got a phone call. No, actually, it was a meeting. It came up in a meeting that it's supposed to be calculating the SAT scores as well. So what you have currently is not accurate. It's not working. It's not calculating. It's not considering the SAT scores. But we do have in QA, and Russell, if you don't mind chiming in on this, because Russell's been he's been attending the meetings throughout the week that I normally attend since I've been in the meetups. I know this is in QA. It's been built out, but I don't know if it's ready for production yet. Russell, you have any more details?
The endorsement for ACT.
Uh-huh.
I heard a little bit about it Tuesday, but I don't remember if they said they were ready to put it out there yet or not.
Okay. So that's currently just sitting with our QA team, and once they approve it, we're going to push it out. So we'll reach out to our QA folks and see if they've had time to test that yet. With the upgrade going on, I've kind of asked them to focus on the upgrade instead of jumping all over the place, because I want to make sure this upgrade's ready for the March maintenance weekend. Thank you, Russell. Another thing I want to add, we've been asked by the business owner to put out some QRDs or documentation on how to, it's almost like I think they think this is a new process, and it's not. It's part of the endorsement calculations that's already out there. It's just an extra checkbox. There's no override process for this. The override process is simply you guys adding a new test score. That's the override. So DPI uploads one set of ACT scores, and that's it. It's up to the districts. Well, actually, I don't want to say it's up to the districts. It's up to the students to provide you guys with a new test score if they want to enter. So if a student wants to meet this, if they want this endorsement, and they, on their test that we uploaded, made an 18, they didn't get it. But if they go take the ACT on their own later on, and they make a 22 or higher, then the student is responsible to bring that test score to you, or whoever is responsible for entering the test scores. And then you go in and just manually enter that test score. That is your override process. That will enable the students to get this endorsement. before it's triggered, you do have to hit the Run UNC button. So we had a lot of tickets coming in after this went out saying it's not working. Well, that's because when we pushed this out in production, we had to do a recalculation across the state, and that took days. So unless you went in and manually ran the UNC requirements by hitting that button, then it wasn't going back and looking at the old ACT scores that were already entered. So that's why it was not working for a lot of you. But just know that's the process. If a student comes back to you with a higher score, you have to enter it, then you have to run UNC, and then it triggers the endorsement. You still with me, Tessa? She's up there building snowman. Snowman.
I'm trying.
Snowmen. We have any questions?
Why not snow women?
I
said, why not snow women?
Sorry.
John Mars has joined us.
Ooh, unmuted. Put him on the spot.
I made him an organizer, so he can unmute himself.
Hello, hello.
Hello, John. He's been building snowmen too. John, you want to introduce yourself real quick? John has joined our team. As I said earlier, he replaced Tiffany Kinney. I'll let you give all your background info, John.
Yes, so I've joined as a home-based trainer. I came from American Renaissance School. I was Director of Technology Communications. I'm excited to help districts and charters across the state continue to implement home base and see what we can do better. Get you guys some good resources.
Yep, thank you. And since you joined, I want to share with you guys that there's an email. Well, no, it's part of the newsletter that's coming out tomorrow. I've asked Yolanda to include a little snippet that we've found statewide. There's a few districts who have done some customizations over the years, and it may not have necessarily been you guys that are currently in this role. It may be somebody that was the coordinator 2 or 3 years ago, and they put this customization in. That's kind of messed up your interface. And without us going into each and every instance and looking at your start page, we don't know if you've got some customizations that may be making your screen a little funky, your interface. So John, since he's joined us, has fixed, I think, 2 or 3 districts. PowerSchool, because that was a customization, once PowerSchool support took over, once the vendor took over the support, they were considering this a customization request rather than a typical support case. Because you've customized your instance, then they're going to say, well, that comes at, like, for us to fix that, we have to charge you. But John has been able to go in because he's got the background to go in and fix this kind of stuff. He's fixed 2 districts already. So if you have problems with your interface and you know yours doesn't look like everybody else's, but you don't know why, put a ticket into ServiceNow. Don't submit the ticket to PowerSchool. I want those to come directly to ServiceNow. Walter knows to send those directly to John so that we can get you back to normal.
And there will be a communication going out tomorrow in the NC STIS weekly newsletter that will have all the details regarding that, as well as a screenshot as to what we are referring to. And it'll inform you on how to enter that ticket into ServiceNow, and it'll have the link to enter it into ServiceNow.
Yeah, it's just weird little things, overlapping buttons, stuff like that, that might stop you from using PowerSchool fully.
Yep, he fixed somebody yesterday, and I think that made their day. Like, it was totally worth the drive to Wilkesboro just for that fix. And it was funny because she had said all these years she's been clicking the delete button thinking it was the pencil, which would edit. So she was deleting records when she thought she was clicking the edit button. But he got her fixed yesterday. So if you have those problems, if you want to wait for the communication to come out tomorrow so that you know what we're talking about, that's fine. But just make sure you submit the ticket through ServiceNow and not PowerSchool. Jess is asking me to share with you.
And if you do
Say
submit
huh?
a ticket, make sure you add a screenshot.
Yeah, I'm looking for that screenshot now so I can share it while we're here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of like what we're talking about. This is not normal. Submit a ticket if this is what you're seeing. All right, we'll move on. FERPA opt-out. This was released after, it was right around the semester transition. And then we got major pushback. I think some state board attorneys got involved, and we've had meetings. And per their request, we removed this from production. This was something that leadership was big on. They wanted this pushed out because this is something that's required annually. And we know we're all guilty. Well, maybe not all of us, but it's easy to put that information in when the student hits ninth grade and then not capture it again. However, we have to collect this information every year. And so to get us back on track, leadership asked us to push this out at the start of semester 2. And we did that, and we got pushed back because we were told that, you know, it's a big challenge to ask Wake County to go out and capture all these responses for all the students, and then the ones that don't log into the parent portal, you have to provide a paper form. So because of the challenges, we've removed that link altogether. Fortunately, most of your parents didn't even see it, because we've learned that about 80% of your parents do not log in through the web interface. They log in using the mobile app, and this customization doesn't display in the mobile app, and there's no way for that to happen. So what we're working on is, and I'm not familiar with the parent app, I don't have kids that old yet, but there's apparently a portion of the mobile app for like bulletins that parents check often. And so we're looking at putting this link in that bulletin section, so that when parents go there to check whatever they check regularly, they'll see this link, and that'll prompt them to go submit this form. We're going to put this back out during EOY. So once your instances come back up after EOY, the parents will be automatically directed to this page where they have to provide responses for the 4 questions, or the 2, depending on the age of the student. Digital forms, I've been asked. We did share with you that we're going to publish digital forms, and it'll be from DPI with some kind of DPI seal or North Carolina Public School seal, something that looks official, so that you guys don't go out and start creating your own and tweaking the language, because the language has to be what we put out there. I'll share that digital form with you now, because I understand that many districts are putting together packages for new students as you're getting ready for the next year. So we'll go ahead, Russell, we'll get that out. But also, Russell was working on a form letter that would be placed in PowerSchool, and I think that's something that we're going to have to go install manually, instance per instance. So that's going to take us some time. Russell, did you get that? I think you did get that finalized, right?
I do have the form letters in there. I have it in for the high school level and the elementary level, but I need a copy of the latest wording of the questions, so I can change anything that needs to be changed. And once I have that in there, you should be able to print a blank one if you need a blank one, or you should be able to print ones that pull the information directly from PowerSchool.
Okay. So that's something we'll get some kind of schedule set up to where we'll make time to get out there and push that out to each instance. So you've got that. So then you'll have the digital copy, or you'll have the version that's in PowerSchool. I'll add that we have been asked. I know a lot of you guys collect more than just those 4 questions. You get more in depth, such as, is it okay for my student's name to be published? Well, or picture. Yeah, you can put it in the yearbook, but don't put the name in the newspaper or a picture in the newspaper. We're not going to get down in the weeds at this level. If you're doing that, you can continue doing that, but you also have to do, you have to answer these questions on the FERPA opt-out page. We did have conversations with Lorenzo about the possibility of allowing districts to customize the FERPA opt-in page or opt-out page. So we're looking into that. So maybe perhaps there's a way you can add your questions to the bottom of that page, but we've not really had time to drill down into that any further. All right, and the last 2 items here on this page are just reminders. Your SET report is due on March 1st. So if you've not submitted your start-in times for the spring, go ahead and do that and get that in before the 1st. And then legislative class size, that report's scheduled to open on March 15th. And previously, we have opened that sooner so that you can go in and start looking at the information. However, because I can't get my hands on a finance file, the payroll info, I can't get that information for February 28th until after February 28th. So once y'all cut checks and everything for the folks who are active as of February 28th, then it takes about a week and a half for DPI Finance to submit a file to me. And then I turn around and I deliver that file to PowerSchool. They load it, and then your reports are accurate. So I should get the finance file by March 9th, and then I've put a few days in there to make sure I can get it loaded in time. So March 15th, you'll have access to run these reports in PowerSchool. And we do feel confident that the PowerSchool reports will be accurate based on the feedback I got from many districts. They felt like the PowerSchool report for fall was more accurate than what we pulled. So maybe so, but we didn't hear anybody saying that their reports were way off or wrong in PowerSchool. So we're going to go forward with submitting through PowerSchool this year. I am going to ask you guys to run them as quick as possible. So don't wait until, even though you've got until April 30th, don't wait until April 29th. Because if you find on April 29th that you've got problems, it's too late for us to turn around and work any tickets. So if you got problems, I need to know about those in mid to late March, so that we can get PowerSchool working those tickets for you. And then if statewide we have issues, we do have a backup plan in place like we did last semester. We'll deliver the files like we did through the secure shell and have you approve them that way. But I'm feeling good about the PowerSchool reports for the first time since I've been at DPI. A reminder, dual language immersion courses, we're no longer looking at the course code. I know in past years, we asked you to put I forget what it was, a D or a DL at the end of the course code. We're not looking at that anymore. We're only pulling special programs. So if you've got dual language immersion courses, you have to set those sections up to be a special program of North Carolina dual language. There was some confusion there in the fall, and we had folks that were coding it in the course code and didn't know about the special program. But that special program's been pushed out to all instances, and that's how you have to identify those students, and that's what we're excluding. I'll pause there, Tessa, if we have questions.
There is a question about legislative class size. If our legislative class size was incorrect, is there a way to submit manually?
Not really. I mean, we're pulling whatever's in PowerSchool, and if the numbers in PowerSchool are accurate, I mean, we're pulling it off the current sections as of February 28th. So you can't submit anything manually. The only thing you can do is go back as of February 28th and make your class sizes tweak whatever you need to tweak, but you need to make that start date or whatever. The date needs to include February 28th. if you're changing any kind of enrollment dates or anything, or moving kids from one class to another, it needs to be as of a date prior to February 28th.
And then there's a question about the set report. Can you give dates for set reports? Is this 1920 school year?
So the set report we collect twice a year. We collect it at the beginning of the year, and then we come back around after Christmas and collect it again, because we know like snow days and stuff may have caused you to have to extend your school days. So this is the second time for the 1920 school year that it's due. And don't confuse that with start and end dates. So we've got start and end times, which is what's due on March 1st. So that's as of today, like what's your start time, end times for each school. And then your start and end date that's due in April, that's something y'all aren't going to be able to submit. We're going to pull that directly from PowerSchool. So start and end dates in April, you have to have your calendar for 2021 set up with your in-session dates and your out-of-session dates and all that good stuff. And we're going to go pull your first in-session date and your last in-session date, and that's what we're going to report to the legislators. And I think the purpose of this is to make sure that schools aren't starting earlier than they should. So that's something you guys really need to take back to your superintendents, because, I mean, if that's due in April, some of you only have one more board meeting between now and the time that's due, and your local school board has to approve calendars. So if your superintendent's not aware of this, you probably need to let them know, hey, we need our calendar approved and put in PowerSchool by April so that DPI can pull the dates. And that's not us, we're just the messenger. Other questions?
Mark's asking about the calendar. So we need to have the entire calendar for each school set up now, or just the term dates, which has the first and last day?
Nope, we're pulling it from the calendars. So each school has to have a calendar set up with, I mean, you don't have to have all your work days and stuff in place, but we have to have the first and last in-session date. That it?
For now, yep.
Sweet. All right, I'm going to move on. Ah. Okay. The rest of this presentation is where we split up in the groups when we were face-to-face. So when we start on this, we'll have some brainstorming and figure out how we can interact with each other. But the purpose of the rest of the meeting is to allow you to drive our work, our being digital teaching and learning team. Training needs is first up. There's a link there. You can go ahead and click on that if you want to and kind of see what we've been doing over the last few days. But the SIS modernization survey that went out to everybody and their mama, nurses and data managers and counselors, everybody in the school system received this survey. That came back and told us that one of your biggest needs is training. Alex, who introduced himself earlier, from PowerSchool, has been going around meeting district coordinators. His number one feedback that he's getting from coordinators, and it's fine, I want y'all to be honest with him as he's coming out and talking to you guys, because he is there to help, and he's coming back to us, and we're trying to work together to meet your needs. But the number one thing he's hearing from coordinators is that training is not that great, or the opportunities, there's not as many opportunities as you'd like to see. And then lastly, at our last meetup, I asked you guys to get in groups, and we had a Google document that we were working on. And in that Google document, we asked, what's your needs? And the biggest thing out of that was training. So we've heard it loud and clear that you guys need more help with training. And I understand, because, it's hard with with the turnover and people coming and going, you guys can't sit down with each and every new hire and train them in what they need to know in PowerSchool. So with that said, we now have a full team, as I've been sharing throughout the week. And I feel like we're to a point to where, especially with my role changing slightly to where the IT pieces have went to IT, that frees me up a little bit to do more training stuff for y'all. So I want to know now, we're going to capture this in this document, what are your needs? And don't just think face-to-face, webinars, on-demand training, resources, documents, QRDs, whatever. What do you need from us? Because we're going to take this and we're going to start a plan at DPI to start getting these things in place for you. One thing I do want to share, Mastery in Minutes was something that we were told after the survey went out for the modernization, and everybody sent back that we need more training. We were told by leadership at that time, if there's anything we can do between now and the time the contract expires with PowerSchool, if there's anything we can do now, like quick fixes, let's do it. A lot of the stuff we know is going to be a request in the RFP, but it's going to be new functionalities, but whatever. If there's stuff that we could do now, let's do it. So the first thing I thought of was, well, if we've got training needs and we've heard that from every district, then let's get the Mastery in Minutes back. Mastery in Minutes is now PD Plus, so they've changed the name of it. The product's changed just a little bit. We went to PowerSchool and we made that request. We were told that the reason PD Plus went away, or Mastery in Minutes, the reason we took that partially was money, and then it was also because it wasn't getting utilized as much in the latter years. My response to that was, we trained everybody up in the beginning. We all assigned our Mastery in Minute courses out to the counselors, to the teachers, whatever. All those folks got trained up and they didn't need it again. Well, over the years, people slowly started retiring or quitting or whatever. And then we got new people coming on board. So now's the time where we need it again because we've got fresh staff. So we did go to PowerSchool. We got a quote. That's still up in the air. But because we're on our 19th amendment of the contract, it's not really something leadership wants to do. We don't want to go back and have another amendment to add another product to the contract. But that's something we did try to do. But you guys just take a few minutes, if you don't mind, and put anything on here, any kind of training that you need from us. I think as each day passes, I've heard that most of the training needs have already been captured in this document, and that's fine. But if there's something that's not in the document that you think is needed, put it on here. One thing that I'm kind of excited about as we're talking about training, and we've talked about this since, right after I started at DPI. But then the problem is, Jackie left, Doris left, Tiffany left, and we've never, we've talked about it, but we've never been to a point to where we can finally pull it off. But I want to utilize Canvas to deliver as much as we can, as much content, training, documents to you guys. So I found out that I can set up a Canvas course and then add y'all as participants in that course, right? Adding your UID. But we kind of want to build out in Canvas what we're getting ready to work on, which is a year in PowerSchool. So it's going to be a place to where you can go and say, okay, we're in month 1 of PowerSchool. What should I be doing in month 1 of PowerSchool? And it's going to link to all the documents, all the resources, videos, anything we can add, we're going to add it. Feedback that we've gotten this week is, well, not just this week. A lot of things are sent out, kind of like that email that just went out from LaShawn. We didn't know about it. There's a lot of documents. There's a lot of stuff that's going out from CTE or preschool, and you guys come back to us saying, until you tell me, we're not doing it. So we're going to utilize Canvas to go out there, and I'm going to go to the other business owners and division leads and have them give me the documents. We'll upload it to Canvas so that we can say, hey, you got to do this, and this is why, and here's the document from the business owner that states why. So I think moving all of these resources, like our QRDs and stuff, to a Canvas course will kind of help y'all out. In addition to that, when we were talking about PD Plus for the state, it was brought up that Mastering Minutes is more for, well, no, actually it is for the core product. It doesn't cover our customization. So with Lorenzo being 100% allocated to North Carolina, I am going to ask Lorenzo to go out and start making, and he's done this, the past few things we've done, like the ACT endorsements, the FERPA page. He records like a little 2-minute demo and gives it to us. And so I'm going to ask him to go back and start doing that for all the things we've had customized, so that we've got little videos and demos that we can share in this Canvas course for you all to refer to. I'm tired of talking. Anybody else want to talk?
Justin, do you know who can help with PK and Head Start set up in PowerSchool?
Help with what part of it?
Specifically the setup in PowerSchool, I think is what Chris is asking about.
No, and we don't have any new information since we had a webinar back in, I guess, late fall, early winter. But it's funny, the person who was over that, Vivian James, decided to retire this month. So nothing really has been, we don't have any updates on preschool. So right now we're utilizing what schools, those 4 schools under 300, or placing them in the brick and mortar elementary school. We'll make a point to reach out to whoever the new business owner is and find out what's expected for the following school year.
Okay. I think she's asking like for the attendance and the enrollment in PowerSchool for the PK.
Gotcha. Yeah. So this year, for the current school year, we were told they're going to collect the attendance however they've been doing it in the past. But from my understanding, for the next school year, you are expected to enroll those students and capture the attendance. Don't know how yet. That's the part that we've got to figure out. Because we got to come up with a way to help you guys schedule it, because scheduling for those students it's all over the place. Yep, I like some of this stuff I'm seeing in the training needs.
Justin, Mark is asking if there's any update on getting security permissions changed for teachers' sections when end date is entered in section setup. Currently, the access and gradebook never goes in.
You were breaking up. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Mark's asking about the security permission changed for teachers and sections when the end date is entered in section setup.
Ooh. No, we'll have to take that back.
Yeah.
Other questions before we move on?
Andrew's asking where they put in funding for pre-K. What page?
Did you say how they put in funding?
Yeah, it says funding.
I believe that's what the special programs that we just pushed out last semester is supposed to cover. that it?
I see one too about, what if we don't have access to Canvas for the PowerSchool training resources? But I think our plan, right, was to use the DPI Blue Canvas, which everyone should be able to get into.
Yep. We checked on that yesterday, and Pam shared that we can use the Blue Canvas. All of you should have, excuse me, access to that. All right. If there's no other questions, we can move on. Somebody's saying that non-instructional staff cannot access Blue Canvas.
I can get with Pam and check on that. Hopefully there will be a way we can add maybe a coordinators list into that course.
Yeah, I think so.
We could also
As long
make
as
the
there's
course
USB.
open. So.
Yeah, I think that they can be added, and then if they have a course assigned to them by their admin, they can then access. I think that's how it works, but we'll have to get with Pam on that.
Okay. Rob and I talked, Dr. Dietrich and I talked the other night, and we'd like to be able to, at the end of after today, we'll be able to take everything that we've collected all week from you guys, and hopefully we're going to push to have something for CCES. So we want to kind of take what we're doing with what we're about to show you, get something put into Canvas for whatever month, whether it be May, June, July. We're going to pick a month, start with that month, and start working from there forward. So by the next time we come together for a training or a conference, you'll be able to see kind of what we're doing in Canvas. So we'll try to have something in Canvas by the time we're come to CCES, even if it's just 1 month. And then we'll kind of work from there and try to stay ahead of the current schedule and what's going on in the schools. All right. With that said, the rest of the presentation is going to be tricky because every day we've been breaking up into groups of 4 to work on this, and I like it was good. I think everybody enjoyed it. It was good to get in a large group with districts of different sizes and kind of talk through what they do on a daily basis, what they do on a monthly basis. So I hate that we're having to do this part in this format, but basically we want you guys to help us create what a year in PowerSchool looks like, all the way down to everything you do in month 1, month 2, month 3, so that we can turn around and then build this year in PowerSchool in Canvas. So I'm going to go forward on this slide. What we've done over the last 3 days, we broke up into groups, four groups, and I've assigned each group 3 months. So you got your post-EOI, which is July, and then month 1 is August, month 2 is September, and then moving on. This is not your school month, like it's not your PMR 20-day month. This is actually the month of the year. And the reason I did it like that is because we're not all on the same schedule. We've got year-round schools, we've got early colleges, and then you got your traditional calendars. So in month 1, it was good to be in large groups because in August, I might be starting school on the 5th and another district might be starting on the 28th. But for us to put together a legit, true schedule in Canvas, we want to put all the resources that might be month 1 for anybody in the month 1 folder. So, Tessa and John, do y'all have any idea how we can do this in groups? Or at this point, are we just going to ask them to take this on individually? You guys there?
I tend to
Yeah.
think we probably dive in individual.
Okay.
I think it'd be difficult to facilitate, large group or small group in this format.
I agree. Unless any of you coordinators have other ideas or want to break off and maybe do Google Hangouts or something. I didn't. Every day I've been clearing this and creating a new document and starting from scratch, but since we're meeting like this, I decided just to leave up what yesterday's groups inserted. So, because I'm afraid we're probably going to lose half of you right now. So that maybe you can just look through this, and if there's anything that is missing that is performed during these months, you can add it to this current list. So I guess since we're meeting like this, I'm just going to ask all of you to just go through each month and just review what's already in there. And if there's things you think of that you do in any of these months that's not listed, just add that. And I mean, like, I want y'all to think of the things that you forget. Like, what kind of things do you capture when you try to run a report and then you say, oh, I forgot to set the dates for the current school year? Like all that little stuff that you have to go back and do once you realize you forgot to do it. That's the things I want you to kind of capture here so that we can be sure when we build this course to include every little detail we can. So we're wanting to kind of build a guide for new users and you guys. Anybody have anything to add?
I will just throw out there, since I see a lot. We're definitely still brainstorming. And I think one option would be to make it just an open course where everyone with the link can get in. And then we can get that link out to everyone. So hopefully we can work out where everyone has access regardless of salary code or whatever else.
Okay. Okay, I got McDowell's message about the use showing up. Thank you, Francie. The training needs where we send out a cleaned up version for folks to give feedback on priority. Yeah, we can do that. We can take this list and kind of put it together in a cleaner format and then ask you guys to provide feedback on the priority of each training topic. There's one question I keep seeing pop up, but every time I click on it, another question comes in. Can a red X be added to contacts that do not have permission to pick up a student? Ooh. Not sure on that. That would probably be a customization. We can check. I'm going to jump back for a second. On the slide where I asked you to put in your training needs, it asks for documentation, like it says documentation, yes, no. I should have went over that a little more when we were on that slide. But what that means is for each item you're listing, oh no, that's on this slide, right? Let me check. Yeah, no, that's on this. I'm sorry. So when you're going through each month, you see there, it asks for documentation, yes, no. That means, are you aware of any documentation that exists currently for that topic? Whether it be documentation that you created or documentation like QRDs that DPI has published. So if you know there's documents out there, whether it's yours or ours, just put yes and then link to it. If it's yours and it's something you came up with locally, then we want you guys to put yes, and then in parentheses or something, just put your district name, like you have it. I own it. I typed it up. Because what we're going to do And we started having these conversations a week or two ago. Now that we've got John on board, he's already come up with a process of going through and cleaning up existing documentation. We got Yolanda and Audrey also helping with that process. Like even stuff as far down as this screenshot's outdated because we've upgraded to a new version, and that screenshot that y'all posted 3 years ago is no longer the current screenshot. We're going to update as much as we can. But part of that process, we're going to ask a group of coordinators to come in and kind of vet the documents before we put them out as a final version. We don't know yet what that's going to look like, whether we use the home-based advisory group or create a new group of users to vet the documents. But as we're creating new documents, we're going to have like a 2 or 3 week period where we ask a team of coordinators to lay an extra set of eyes on it, provide feedback. Maybe we could have worded it different. Maybe it'd be more helpful if we had a screenshot here. But on the flip side of that, we want to do the same thing with documents that you all have created. So if you've created a document on, like, for instance, the SAT test override, which would be manually inserting a test score. Like if there's documents out there that you have that we don't, rather than us taking time to create those from scratch, reinvent the wheel, we want to take your documents with your permission, and we want to vet those and then put that in our template, our QRD template, and publish that for everybody to have. So one thing I had asked yesterday, when we're creating this Canvas course, I would like to see like a Dropbox feature to where in month 1, here's what you do in month 1. Here's some videos DPI has. Here's some QRDs DPI has. But here's a Dropbox. Here's a folder. If you've got documents out there, put it in this folder. DPI folks can grab it, look at it, vet it, and put that in our own template, and then publish that for the whole state to use. So if you don't have links to documents, because I understand that some of you have them just locally where nobody outside can access them. If you don't have it shareable right now, that's fine. Just put, yes, I have documentation. Here's my email address, and we'll reach out to you to start working on that. Over the last few days, I've had 3 coordinators that they pretty much had what we're trying to capture here in this format. They already had it, and they had a drive set up to where each month had a folder, and they had elementary, middle, and high. And so I've asked them to share that with me. So we'll review what you're putting in here in this Google document, and we'll also review what these other districts have kind of put together as their year in PowerSchool. And we'll try to come up with the cleanest format as we can when we move this stuff to Canvas. And that is about all I have. John or Tessa, do you have anything to add, or Russell?
Just sent you an email concerning the view on the transcript. Basically, Lorenzo says that he's working on it right now. There's a small change that needs to go to the LEAs. The script will need to be run after hours. He's hoping to finish it today.
Okay, good. We'll check on that tomorrow. Tessa or Johnny, do we have other questions we need to answer?
No, it doesn't look like it.
They fell asleep on us. Sweet. So we had 76 folks attend, and you're still hanging in there. I appreciate y'all. Meeting like this, I wish we could have met in person. I think this entire team will be at NC Ties next week. So if anybody's going to be there, track us down. Let's connect there. After that, I guess it'll be CCES when we meet again. Not sure if any of y'all are planning on going to PSUG or the EDGE conference in Orlando, but I'll be at both of those. And then Tessa and I don't know if John, are you going to Nashville PSU?
Yeah, I'll be in Nashville too.
Okay. So for those of you that are going to PSU in Nashville, we'll be there as well. Before you drop off, and I
Justin,
do want you to take, yeah, go ahead.
do you know if DPI is sending the data to the military? We have a question on that.
Yes, DPI delivers that now. So if you've got people coming to you asking for it, just tell them that comes from DPI now. You shouldn't be asked to deliver that info anymore.
We will
There's
not
one
be
other
returning
thing.
after lunch. I just want
Do
to
what?
let everyone know because we're having some questions. We're having questions about if we're going to be returning after lunch.
No, and this week's been kind of different. We've been wrapping. I mean, actually, we're on schedule. Every day this week, we've actually released right around lunch, and we were done for the day. We worked through lunch 2 days ago, just because the information, we didn't have as much to give you all as we have in the past, so we wanted to make it more of a group activity. So every day we finish right around noon or 12:30, and then just release for the day. So what I need from you guys, if you haven't done it already, is complete the training needs, go through each month that's here on this slide deck, make sure we've captured everything, every task that's done throughout the year. Third-party vendor plugin list, your student contacts form, where you are in the migration process, and then there was one other. It was on the second slide, but just be sure every link there you've completed. And then on this last slide, I need you all to provide feedback. And I hope it's good. I know we didn't deliver as much info today. It was more meant to capture your needs, but that's super important. And we've gotten good feedback over that last few days. And that's all I have. Just look for more emails coming out on the upgrade. As we get closer, we'll be releasing more documentation. Yes.
With the military recruitment, they want to know if you know who their local recruiter can contact.
I do not. Yes, I do. What's his name? His name's Doug Taggart. Is that right? With DPI?
Yes, assuming he's still here.
Yeah.
So Doug is the guy that we deliver. When we pull the information, we deliver it to Doug. And he's a DPI employee. Whoever asked that, if you want to shoot me an email, I'll forward you his email address. Any other questions? Anybody from the field want to speak, share anything? Let's see, Darlene has a hand up. I'm going to unmute you, Darlene, but if you accidentally put your hand up, that's fine. Okay. All right. If that's it, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Just please provide the feedback here, and then spend the rest of your day, whatever time you have available, going through these links and giving us as much feedback as possible. I appreciate it, and I hope y'all have a good weekend. Y'all have fun up in Asheville, Tessa and John.
Thanks. Hopefully the road should be
Bye, guys.
closed by now. Bye.
Yeah, you should be good. Thanks. Bye.